Sorry, do you just mind shifting one seat over? Now, just a reminder to everybody, we are done with this. Please turn off all cell phones. It does interfere with our equipment. And I'll point you out if your cell phone goes off. And I'll take it. We'll be having a Q&A at the end of this session. Please wait until I come around to hand you the microphone, and if I could ask everybody to stand up while you're asking me. All right, Don, where do you go? Where do you want this camera?
We're gonna make this this presentation available to you afterwards as well. So
How's that?
if you don't get everything the first time,
What about the other one? Ready to go? Amy, ready to go? Hold on, I'm just. Hold on, actually, give me 1 second. Is he not coming up here? No? Okay. Amy, ready to go?
Okay, welcome everyone. If you don't know, my name is Joan Jenkinson. I'm the Vice President of Independent Production and Multi-Faith Content. And you said you'd be here, and you're here, so we're very excited. And this is our first ever symposium on sponsorship and advertising called Building Your Sales Toolkit. It's going to be very informative. There will be lots of information. Some things you may understand and some things you may not understand, but there will be plenty of opportunity to ask questions at the end. And then after this, in the coming days, we're completely available to you if you want any clarification on anything, or if you want us to help you build your sales toolkit. The person who's leading the symposium this evening is Deborah McClellan. She is the Director of Television and Integrated Sales for Zoomer Media Sales Division. Deborah's lived all over the world, including in India for a year, and she's done sales and marketing everywhere. So she's encountered every situation imaginable. So she'll be a wealth of information for you. At the end of the symposium, at the end of the presentation, we're going to invite Tony and Harleen and Swami and myself will come up here so that we'll be available to answer any of your questions as well. So I'm going to hand it over now to Deborah McClellan.
Thank you, and if I start to talk too fast, just wave. I have a tendency to do that. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background just so you understand where I come from originally. I originally studied sales and marketing, well actually marketing and business, and I did an internship at Pepsi, and I ended up staying at Pepsi for 7 years in marketing. When I left, I was the director of advertising. And at that time, I was always dealing with the media, so the VP of television offered me a job in sales, and I'm like, I don't want to do sales. And then I realized they were making way more than I was in marketing. So I went over to sales. So I was in television sales, in broadcast, and I ended up in Toronto with the same same company that I worked for, and we began the integrated marketing team, which was for Chum Television, City TV, Much Music. And at that time, actually, Much Music, City TV, Space, Bravo, a lot of these stations were niche stations. So we were very much selling niche, which is why I understand a bit of what you're coming up against. Then actually I moved to Europe, where I worked as a vice president of sales and marketing for Central Eastern Media. And I worked in a bunch of countries from Romania, Slovenia, Slovakia. And when I moved to Serbia, I couldn't actually work in media because it was a conflict of interest. So I ended up working in the turnaround management department for the EBRD, European Bank for Reconstruction Development, doing a brand relaunch for a makeup company. And I just tell you that so I can bring in sort of the client experience as well. And after that, I lived in India, Norway, Greece, and worked in various sales and marketing components. And as Greece was kind of imploding, I ended up back in Canada. And with my colleagues, I started working here at Zoomer Media. So just for way of a background, I could kind of help you with the mindset of the client as well as the seller. So I'm going to try and clear these slides as quickly as possible for you. If you have any questions, if you can just keep them to the end, because that way it'll move faster for you. But we do have hard copies for everybody, and we do have CDs for everybody. So, and we also, as Joan said, are a resource for whenever you would like to follow up afterwards. My first time with the clicker. And so what we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about sort of the fundamentals. There's 10 fundamentals that we're going to cover, which is production, the environment, your story. You don't have to worry about reading it. I'll leave you a leave behind afterwards. Your community, which is your market niche, building the offer, working the pipeline, the match, the price, making the call, and then finally, sample sales packages, so that you just have to drop in logos or call us for research if you need to customize. So we're here to help. And the first thing I want to talk about is building your foundation. And by the foundation, I mean the product. So whether it's a can of Pepsi, a can of 7-Up, or it's a City Line show, or your show, that is the product, and it all starts there. So you want to make the product the absolutely best product you can make. And to that end, actually, Joan is going to come back up, and I don't know if you guys saw this week, but she had tons of accolades in the Globe and Mail from John Doyle on the production that she just did on St. Patrick's. So she's a great expert on this, and she's going to come up and talk to you a little bit and show you a DVD on making your production great. Oh, you want this? Oh, perfect.
Okay, for the past several months, we've been hammering at you. I think you've heard over and over again, and we've had workshop after workshop about your show and your production. The reason why we're doing that is because everything on television is your competition. Every other South Asian program on Vision TV on Saturday is your competition. South Asian programs on other channels is your competition. CSI is your competition. Mainstream television, everybody is trying their best to get people to watch their show. So you have to make it your priority to make your show the best it can possibly be, because you're competing against all of those people. Now, so I'm reiterating again the things that we've talked about. The look of your show is important. The packaging, the opening graphics, the bumpers, the credits, the editing, having more than one shot is just, when you think about a show like CSI or any other big shows, they are changing the image on the screen like every 3 seconds. And that's what your viewer is expecting. Of course, you won't be able to do that because it costs millions of dollars to make that happen. But at least having a couple of camera angles can provide enough variety to keep your viewer watching. Of course, the sound and audio is very important. And I'm reiterating this because on a weekly basis, Swami can tell you we have issues about audio. We have issues of video. And when it gets to the point where we have to fix it, it means that there's a much bigger problem before it comes to us. So, and we're here to help you with that. If you're having audio issues or video issues and you need instruction, we can come to you, or you can come to us, and we will provide those services for you. The other important thing, of course, is the content. The structure of the show in terms of what is at the beginning, middle, and end of the show, and also the accuracy and the how informative the information is. The material has to be engaging, because otherwise people tune out and will go somewhere else to find that information. So as I said before, and I'll keep saying over and over again, we are a resource for you. We're available. We can go to your studios and help you redesign your set or help you with lighting or audio issues. We also have services available here in our studio at 64 Jefferson, where you can come in and shoot your show. We worked on some programs with some of you already over there. And if nothing else, we can help you redo your graphics package. We have a fabulous editor who's available to work with you on that. And so I just want to leave you with a look at some of the work that we've done with some of the South Asian producers on Vision TV and Joy TV, and these are just some of the opening graphics that we've done on their show. And again, that service is available to you.
अपनी मिट्टी अपनी सभ्यता से जोड़े आजकल पर्सनालिटी ऑफ द वीक के सेगमेंट में हम आपकी मुलाकात उस शख्स से करवाएंगे जो लगातार चर्चा में है। इस सेगमेंट यानी इतिहास के पन्नों से हम आपको कुछ बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग हिस्टोरिकल इवेंट्स और व्यक्तियों के बारे में बातचीत करेंगे। नॉस्टैल्जिया के इस सेगमेंट में हम आपकी पुरानी भूली बिसरी यादों को फिर से तरोताजा करेंगे।
Really nice openings. Those use the power of television, the sight, sound, and emotion, which you always want to use. And wherever possible, use those in your demonstration to advertisers when you're talking to them, because those are great to show people. It shows you how the quality of the production. So I'm going to move right along to building the foundation and talking about the environment. The environment is actually the box where your show is shown, and that box is Vision Television. And one of the great things about the fact it's Vision Television is that you're in 11 million homes. So you have the possibility for all those eyeballs. And as Joan referenced earlier, people watch television, but they watch programs. And you have to give them a reason to watch your programs. Tony's given you 11 million homes as access, and now it depends on your program whether or not they watch it. So Vision Television is a good box to start with. It's 11 million homes. It started in 1988, so it already has I'm talking too fast, aren't I? Sorry. In 11 million homes, it has nostalgic program as well as, and we're going to go to a video in a second, it has nostalgic programming, it has British favorites like Downton Abbey, which is all the rage at the moment, Christian programming, and South Asian programming. So 3 very clear blocks. And what Joan has already done is she's developed I guess it's a video, a DVD, and we have the DVD actually in your package to go that you can actually use to show advertisers what the environment for your show looks like. So we're just going to take a second and show you those, the DVD.
You're watching Vision TV.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Vision TV is available in 11 million Canadian households and is Canada's and the world's only national multi-faith and multicultural television service.
Jesus' body would have been laid right here.
Vision TV is British series,
Nothing succeeds like excess.
American movies,
You're my knight in shining armor. Don't you forget it.
Canadian documentaries,
Can science crack the mysterious code behind what drives us to sin?
the worlds of faith. A universe of the unexplained.
And this is Supernatural Investigator.
Christian programs on Vision TV.
Well, God bless you. It's a joy to come into your home.
This is Context, a look at life beyond the headlines.
So if love for neighbor and love for God is to be the characteristic of that practice, then caring for the planet is a non-negotiable.
Jesus understands me. He understands me. And he understands you.
Get ready for your ultimate life because you are loved.
The gospel doesn't focus on the sins, it focuses on the Savior.
South Asian programming on Vision TV.
Perfect. The South Asian block is very, very important to Vision TV, and it's a really important block for advertisers and growing more and more. We already have 376,000 viewers on a weekly basis. In over a year period, we have 3.7 million. And as more people tune in as a whole, it grows every day. And in terms of an advertiser, it's the fastest growing community in Canada. It has actually grown at 23% just over a 5-year period and now represents 5% of the overall population. But even more, it represents a huge part of the buying market, which advertisers are super interested in. It's educated. In terms of education, the South Asian market is far more educated than the general population of Canada. They're 66% more likely to have an undergrad degree and 80% more likely to have a master's degree. And that all translates into great jobs and economy and great advertiser target. In terms of the macro group, there's a lot of around RSPs, savings, the fact that there's bigger families means that it's bigger budgets in every category that relates to the home, as well as the categories like eating out and driving. There's a pension for foreign vehicles, but also in terms of Canadian vehicles, there's a huge Canadian market in terms of vehicles. So we're going to go over that even more, and I'm going to reinforce that home, but I just want you to top line think about some of the categories. But first, what you need to do when you get ready to start thinking about talking to an advertiser is about painting your story. And when you paint your story, I want you to think big. I want you to think bigger than your neighborhood grocery store. I want you to think about the whole community. So focus on the whole South Asian community and think of yourself as part of a broader multicultural community. And why I'm saying that is that's because how the advertiser is buying. And I can tell you because we get calls sometimes which filter back down, and it's always like, I want South Asian programming. And in this case, they want South Asian programming. It's not even put to the same metrics. And provide inspiration. Inspiration by doing this is a highly inspiring, vibrant community, and you need to paint that as part of your picture. So you need to talk about your program. And when you talk about your program, you need to say, what is the product? And how is your product different? Then also the national footprint. Even though there's a huge concentration in Ontario and BC, it still is a national footprint. It also has a lot of positive role models, available audience, and a very, very niche market. In the fact that you might be, as Joan says, CSI is a really big group, but you may be only one person who's watching that CSI. You have 100% in your program. Influential people, and you're communicating a value that's important. And you need to think about when you're painting your stories, what does your niche fit? And then you need to, once you've thought about who you are, you need to think about who's watching because they're part of your story. So part of it is, where do they shop? Where do they live? What are their habits? How much money are they saving? Where do they bank? So it's thinking about it from both your perspective of who you are and who they are, because you need to know who they are in order to target them to watch and also to buy advertiser products. So in terms of this is one of the kind of charts that we can supply you. You've probably seen this before. But as a community, and we have these for various different topics, but frequent movies. So who's that important to? If you're actually wanting to talk to a movie company, because say E-Entertainment, they may be doing a movie that's in your target, well, you might want to show the trailer. You might want to talk about it. And then they can buy the product within. So think big, think about coffee shops, because you have your Tim Hortons, you have your Starbucks, heavy coffee consumers. The main shopper. Why that's important is because there's big households and they're getting the person who's making the buying. You're getting, not they, you're getting the buyer who's making the decision. Also, own your own home. Very high index. I'm going to go into this a little bit more. High income 75 plus. There's not a lot in Canada, but the South Asian community is quite high, and hold RSPs. This is a very sort of busy chart, and I've taken, why I wanted to show you this is because we can break this chart down into a lot of smaller pieces for you. But I've just highlighted, for instance, if you look at high income, and this is specifically to the South Asian community. So higher income, 125 to 149. If you look at that, it is a really, really high index. It's 235. So it's over double the population, the normal index for Canada. Then if you look at postgraduate degree, that's 3 times. Those are just really important movements and factors. The fact that the personal travel outside of Canada and the US, that means lots of money is being spent on airlines, on hotels, on travel packages, and those are big dollars that are being spent. In terms of investments, savings bonds, securities, etc., you'll each have this in your package, but you'll see that that index is very high as well, and we can break this down into groups. And what is really interesting, this is an article that just came out in Marketing Magazine. It's been fairly hard to get research on the South Asian community, even within our own BBM. I mean, we have some pretty good research, but people are starting to wake up and pay attention. So this was an article that was in Marketing Magazine today, and it's how well do you know Canada's largest ethnic consumer group? And essentially, they said they spent $2.3 billion in Canada. So that's a huge amount of money, and they're standing up and paying attention, advertisers are. And in terms of just some of the products, home electronics. So that's your Samsung, it's your Sony, it's household apartments and furniture. That's everything from the brick to TVs to Whirlpool. All of those become potential advertisers for you. Beauty products and cosmetics, we'll touch on this even further. This is one of the groups that has actively gone after quickly. Retailers, The Gap has clearly used actually a very, very famous actor in their ads this Christmas. And in addition to that, so that's part of the clothing line. So what you need to do after you've got your story straight, meaning you know who you want to attract and who's watching you, what you need to think about is building your pipeline. And as I said earlier, you need to think bigger than the corner store because the categories are automotive, beauty products, food products, and these don't need to be niche food products, but they can be and include food niche products, travel, flight destinations, travel agents, schools, universities, and colleges. I'll come to this a little bit further, but when I started to look in the local papers, constantly the schools are targeting the South Asian population. Technology, phones, computers, every bit of research we have shows that the South Asian community are early adopters of all of these products. Professional services, healthcare. And for leads, there's lots of places to look for leads. Look at competitive channels, as Joan mentioned before, whether they're targeting the South Asian or whether they're targeting the general population. Look at community papers. Just as I quickly flipped through the internet, I found this to be a huge resource. Outdoor advertising. Walk around your neighborhoods. Look to see who's advertising, who their spokespeople are. Grocery store shelves. Again, it's the everyday product and it's a specialized product as well. And magazines. Get the magazines. Don't read the articles. Just look at the advertisers. We rip them all out. And there's our part of our pipeline building. And after you compile this, then you have to start making the calls. And making the calls isn't always easy. And in fact, when I moved over from the Pepsi end of the business, people were always calling me and looking for it. And I returned every call, every advertising call. So when I moved over to the other side of the business, my vice president, Nigel, said to me, he said, so what's the biggest difference on this side of the business when I went from sales to marketing? And I said, well, you certainly were nicer to me on the other side of the business. Because on that side of the business, everybody called. And this side, they don't always call you back. It's not that they don't want your product, it's just that they're pretty busy. So then, as you go into these, and you've already identified in the last one, we talked about the channels. We'll go in a little bit deeper on that. So look to see who in the automotive is doing it. Is it Audi? Is it Chevy, Nova? Is it national dealers? Is it budget rent-a-car? Look to see who's there in that automotive. And then there's 3 categories in that. There's the national category, then there's the dealers, then there's the guy that's in the neighborhoods. So there's lots of different pools to go from. Beauty, there's skin care, there's hair care, there's cosmetics. There's food, there's niche products like that's specific to certain South Asian cultures. And there's also just the broad, I've got your cereal, your eggs. I've got a slide at the end that will show you the most common breakfast food. Then there's travel, which we've already touched on, household products and individual brands. So this may be everything from Kleenex to your P&G products to your Tide, whatever the product is. Technology, there's Bell, there's Samsung, there's Win Mobile, there's Rogers, there's Bell, there's a lot of calling cards that are specific to certain countries. Think about, go deeper in the category. Retail, there's Shoppers, there's Loblaws, there's all kinds of retailers. But there's, in addition to the products that are on their shelves, there's the ones who are carrying the products. And healthcare. Well, you have the doctors and the dentists and the acupuncture, and that's all good, but also think about, you might have J&J, which has aspirin, or Tylenol. You also have a lot of diseases that are really specific to certain categories. So whether it's diabetes, whether it's arthritis, then you sort of say, okay, this is a product. I have the environment for you to talk to 100% of the target group you want to talk to. So essentially think about it in categories, which is on the right part of this, and then drill a bit deeper. Then making the call. When you make the call, you have to tell them what's unique about your production. This is where you get to go a little deeper and tell a lot more about your story. And this is why you really want to know your story, and you want to know how your story can benefit them. So the fact that for instance, if you have an author who's going to be on air, well, maybe the local book dealer, or if it's a film that's going to be on air, you may want to talk to the film company who's the distributor for that. So look at how your product, maybe for instance, when I saw, what was it, Professional of the Week on one of these that you showed early on, I thought, wow, Professional of the Week, it's a professional person. This might be something you want to talk to your bank about, because they want to be associated with people who are leaders in their community. So think about areas and segments that are in your show. So another one where you did nostalgic driving. Well, you know what? Then you may want to target a car dealer. If you know you're going to be using a car in your piece, you may want to say, I'm going to use your car. I'll borrow this for a test drive, but I'd like you to sponsor it. So in this episode, I'll give you billboards and I'll give you content in the show, because these are all natural integration. So just think a little bit deeper on those. And not only are you going to be telling them your story, telling isn't selling. A lot of people mistake telling for selling. It isn't. The next piece is you have to listen and learn. So ask them their story. So ask them things about, like, seek first to understand is always sort of the code I go by. So what are their challenges, their plans, their objectives? Then provide them with solutions. Like I was saying before, you know what, if it's a bank, I want to get to the leaders of the community. I've got the leaders of the community in my show. So where is the advertiser trying to get to your community without success, and how can you solve that? But what you need to know is the advertiser's already there. This is Omni, for instance, and they've just started a co-pro with L'Oreal. And I know that I've personally spoken to L'Oreal about some different products as well. So they're in the process of trying to find you. They just are not sure what to do with it yet, because they're just discovering that this is a huge untapped market. So when you look at it, they're already starting to talk to you. As I said, this magazine in particular goes out to media buyers. It goes out to brand managers and out to people who are selling the products. So this is an industry magazine. If these are being printed in industry magazines, then these are stories that the marketers want to hear. And when I talked about earlier that look for your leads, I went on, just pulled a couple of different sites. For instance, this is a Brampton South Asian focus. Just a couple of quick screenshots. You see here that Buick is advertising in this. WagJag is advertising here. Seneca College, that was only on the first page. There were many, many more pages on here. Again, going down this line, if you look at it, Shoppers Drug Mart, they're already advertising in it. Summit Tracks, you already have the vitamins that are in this product. As well, you have the tech, as we talked about earlier, early adopters. Marketers know where their market is. They just need to find who has it. The next one, this one is about South Asian focus. And for instance, WagJag's all over it. WagJag seem to be all over everybody's. And one thing actually I noticed but didn't put in there is that there's a huge usage of coupons. So it's WagJag would make sense in that it's a good target for it. Dentists, doctors, all kinds of local community. Then again, if you look at the Voice Weekly, you look at cars. Cars are all over the place. Real estate. Real estate is a big one because the South Asian community has a high incidence of owning their home and actually owning it without mortgage. So that means there's a lot of disposable income. There's no risk for real estate. So real estate's another market. Again, if you look on the next page, it's technology. You can see here that TELUS is advertising. Norton is trying to get you to do their Norton antivirus. They're getting you to protect your computer with them. There's boots, there's fast food, there's pizza. So this is just a few to kind of look at how you can look at the different industries. And on a bigger scale, again, there's leaders, spokespeople who reflect the values of the community. So look in as many places as you can that are already talking, and look beyond. Then price to sell. And this is probably one of the more difficult things because we have a tendency to just want to get rid of it for a certain price. And your price equals value. So if you price your product too low, people are going to see little value in it. I was going to tell you a quick story about when I was working in Serbia with the European Bank of Reconstruction Development. I was working with a company that they were very much on the verge of bankruptcy. And so she got a grant. And she had 100 employees. And the first thing when I looked at her product, so she got me as a consultant. And the first thing I looked at was her product. And I said, your price point's too low. And she's like, no, it's not too low. It's not price point. I knew everything in my gut from having worked in packaged goods that because it was makeup, people were looking at it, and it was right beside all the international brands. And she was buying actually her product. I mean, her eyeliner pencils. I don't see a lot of females, so you may not know this. It was from Chanel. So she was buying from all the international producers. But the perception was that it was low value because it was low priced. So I talked her into a focus group. And the very first thing they said is, this is so cheap, it's got to be bad. So you never, ever want to price your product too low because that is the first thought, that the product is bad. So we upped her prices. We changed. There's other things that we did, but I'm happy to say that she's been growing at double digits ever since and is still a friend. So price to sell. There's various ways to price, but one rule of thumb that I would always do is I would know what your production costs are. Figure out your production costs and figure out your margin. If you want your margin to be 100%, you want your margin to be 60%, then it is your cost. Say, for instance, I use 2,000 here, and you want to add 60% for your margin, then it's 1.6. And then if you divide it by the number of spots, in this case, you've come up to $133 a spot. So never underprice your product and make sure that you're getting return on investment. The first guy may want $1 a hauler, but that may not be the advertiser you want. And value and use your supporting media. If you're not using Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, then you should get on it as quickly as possible. And you should be using these in your headcount. Your YouTube channel is actually another channel. So you should be actually on your Facebook telling about your YouTube channel. You should be telling about when you are on Vision TV. The same with, you should be Twittering out what you're going to be talking about that week. What did I do? Okay, I'm really short. So you should be Twittering out every week, talking about what you're doing. The thing about social media is about being there and being there with something new every week. You can even tie in your advertisers into this. They love social media. They don't, even though television's giving you thousands and thousands of numbers, social media is still small numbers. It will never deliver what you're giving them in television, but it's kind of the sexy part of the sell. So be sure and include that in your sell. And I can't impress enough on don't undervalue your product. So more about talking about your product and price. Talk about your product. If you don't value it, they won't value it. The proposition. I just touched on earlier, what are different ways you can do beside a commercial sell? You've got billboards in your ad. You've got opportunity to do sponsorship, like for instance, the Professional of the Week. You may also tie in with cars, different products, books. You may have authors on board. Those are all linked to end sell. So think about it. You might have a chef who's using certain products, or you may have somebody who's an arthritis specialist and you want to talk to Tylenol that week. So think a little deeper than just your spots and dots. Then price, go beyond the number. Talk about the value of the community. The value of your community, because it's 100% no wastage, it's a totally, totally different buy. Because in another program that you're buying, you may be wasting a lot of your airtime. And it is a niche market in this world now. That is how TSN came about. Years ago, there was no way to reach the mail. You were trying to do it with a newspaper, et cetera, et cetera. Then TSN, Sportsnet, all of those kind of avenues exploded. They were not successful at first. They're hugely successful now in eating all our lunch, but they weren't successful at first. And you guys are on the ground floor of this. So you guys are setting the trend for a market that is desired. You know, the men were a desired audience, hence a bunch of vehicles started to grow up. And you have a chance to be in the bottom floor. Don't think that other people aren't reading this and they're going to start producing more South Asian programming or look for slots for it. So you're the first. Use the resources that you have and be sure and use your product to the best. And target. Use our research department to understand who your target is. I mean, I've left you quite a bit of research in here. I'm going to leave you more. And you have so many categories to go after, and we can help you deeper on that. And your competitive set. What are the buyer's options? How are you better? You're better because you know your market, your niche. You're 100% of the audience they want. And the process. Make it easy. Whatever you do, make it easy. Bring everything to them as formed as you can. So if you do think, okay, I want to go after this client, and it's an automotive client, make sure you show them how they can be part of the picture. Now I'm just going to briefly and a little bit more quickly go through the agency piece. If anybody wants to really go deep into this, I'm happy to do a side on this. It's just a little bit more of a more complicated process. But I just want to touch for you what the agency world looks like. So how they work and how they expect to be approached. So essentially, this is what the hierarchy looks like. You know, the client's way over here, then you have a lot of people to get through, but really the two people that we ever deal with on the sales side of the business are planners and buyers. And in most cases, by the time it gets to the buyer, they've already been told what to buy. Now, in that case, sometimes I've actually had a buyer call and say, I need South Asian, so sometimes you do, but in most cases, the buyer has told them. So if you're ever going to talk to somebody, you talk to a buyer. And to get in the head of a buyer, you need to have your story solid because they're young, they're often not very sophisticated. All they know is, I need South Asian viewers. They don't know a lot about it, they don't have a lot of time, they won't act like they don't know a lot about it, so you have to kind of put something in front of them that's going to work. Just a couple of quick terminology. Cost per thousand probably being the most common. We still sell because we're a national advertiser on cost per thousand. And in terms of efficiency, television is the most efficient cost per thousand. Print is very, very high. Internet's much higher. And in terms of a footprint, you can offer a lot more for your cost per thousand. So it is easy to get a cost per thousand because you just take the commercial, the projected audience, and you divide it by 1,000, and that gives you your cost per thousand. So in this example, I've used $10. Just to give you an idea, we might, as a mass media like Vision, sell at a $10 cost per point. But for a specific show, like if it's Downton Abbey, certainly we wouldn't. For a niche program, you wouldn't either. You would actually sell at double that. And the reason why a niche market can sell a bit higher is because there's less people in it, hence why it's called niche. That's why channels, for instance, like the Discovery Channel are higher. They get a higher value. TSN, Sportsnet, off the mark, because they, again, have their own product. And speaking the language of the media buyer, I realized afterwards when I put in gross impressions and GRPs, this is a hugely complicated process. So I thought, let's take this offside. But this is a metric that they use in terms of identifying, in terms of they being the agencies, in terms of the actual impressions for TV, radio, and magazine. The interesting part for TV is you can still talk in the metric of cost per thousand. So you don't need to be put into the cost per point bracket at all. So if you want to go deeper into this, we can do an offside on this, but I'm not going to take your time right now to speak to this. But I wanted you to hear the terms cost per thousand, cost per point, and GRP, gross impressions. Gross impressions is actually the easiest because that's just the sum number of everybody that's watched it over a period of time. So I want to recap just a little bit on preparing your kit. So first of all, it's about doing your homework. There's no way, It's just like school. You can't not do your homework. But judging by all the having undergraduate degrees and postgraduate degrees, your community is very used to doing their homework and much better at it. So do your homework. Know who watches your program. Use the research to identify the business. The research just essentially, even if you have a few graphs, it makes it look like you have done your homework and it makes it look like you know. So those are important. You don't have to have a lot, just a couple that hit home on their product. Build a target list that's unique to your viewer base. So research the target group. So when I'm saying, for instance, if you're going banking and automotive, if you're going to say, let's use Shoppers Drug Mart, go on there, look at their advertising, look who's on there, look around. Like for instance, I would pull the ad that I have, you're already targeting this community. I would look at their cell line. I would then also put this in the presentation. I would put their logos in there. I would look like, I see you. That is essentially what you're saying to them is, I see you as a product, so do that. Understand the general business of the person you're calling on. Make sure when you go in, you don't have to ask them what they do. You know what they're doing, so you've done your homework on that piece. Find the key contact in the decision maker. This is just about calling up and saying, who does the media buying? Or who's the general manager? And quite often, a resource is on the internet. Usually it's on the contact page. So it's easier to get to now that everybody has a profile. Go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a huge, huge asset because almost everybody is on LinkedIn and you can get, so once you've sort of found the contact on the base, go to LinkedIn, see who they are, see what you have in common with them. Know them a bit before you go there. And customize the package. Customize it directly for them and ensure that the material reflects who you are. You're developing a high quality program, make sure that what you bring to them is high quality as well. Have a leave behind and where possible, build solutions for them. Be an easy partner to do business with. Like everybody today, they're all busy. If you're easy, then it makes it easy for them to do business with you. Then a little bit just about customizing your package. Customize your package, show the format. So whether you're 1 hour, whether you're half an hour, whether it's news, talk, information, talk a little bit about what your message is. The host profile. If it's very host-based, tell them who the host is. Let them know how you're a leader in the community. Topics. So give a little bit about topics. You don't have to give all your topics. Give topics that they're going to be interested in. Regular guests. Look who you might have as regular guests that are voices in the South Asian community. Include research and also consumer profiles. So show them that you know who's watching. Here's who's watching my show. The person who's watching my show is educated, they're affluent, they're more likely to be driving a foreign vehicle than a domestic vehicle. Of course, if you're seeing the domestic guy, you still have a good number. You can switch that up too, because we've got the research to show that that works as well. So be sure and include research. And social media. I just have to reinforce that social media gives you cred. So have a little bit of market credibility on that one. Create grassroots appeal and the fact that you're closer to the consumer. You're talking, touching, feeling. That is something big TV can't do. They're not close enough to the consumer. That would be something like an entertainment show, like if you guys know Marilyn Dennis and Cityline. She touches hers through a studio audience. You touch yours because you're in the community and you want to tell them. That's very grassroots. Leave behind for the buyer either a printed copy, or a little hard disk, which is even better, or DVD. Always have your business cards. And I pulled an example, for instance, out of iPunjabi TV show. And what I really love about this is that right away you see the story. You see who the host is. It's colorful, it's professional, and it immediately almost you get the sight, sound, and emotion in that. You certainly get the sight and emotion because it's all portrayed just in that picture. Provide an overview of your program. So for instance, what is unique about Let the Quran Speak? It's the resident scholar. He's nowhere else. Well, he might be somewhere else, but you have him on your show. And it's an enhancement to peace, harmony, and mutual understanding. So that really tells you what your mission statement is. That tells you what the goal of the program is. So that's a really good piece of information to leave them with. And then the program airing. You always want to tell where it is and all of your other sites as well. This again is a piece that's been individualized, for instance, against, and we can go a little deeper on the programs. I would tend to go a little bit more South Asian community, but this certainly shows home ownership, travel, frequent movies, all the stuff we've been talking about earlier. Family restaurants, so all the family restaurants, which are national as well. And then you can just list things like, for instance, tend to be married. What does that mean? That means I usually have a family. I've got a lot of products to buy. Own their own home. That means I don't have a lot of debt. I have disposable income. I have no mortgage, more money to invest. Maybe they're investing a lot in stocks, so it's an opportunity to go talk to, the National Bank about their different kinds of stocks and bonds or mutual funds instead of their stocks. Or the opposite. If it's actually they're highly vested in bonds, you can go directly to them or go to their competition. There's a story on both sides of that. Have digital, satellite, high-speed internet. What does this communicate? This communicates that I'm buying technology. I'm involved with what's latest, what's newest, and what's best. So there's everybody from your phone companies to your internet companies to your televisions, all kinds of opportunity. This list tells me a lot of advertisers that I can go after. And then go beyond expectations and raise the bar. And this actually doesn't look as great on here as it does in person, but this is really great in the fact that right now I'm giving you a huge presentation with a lot of pages. You don't want to do that to an advertiser. What I love about this is that it's in a few pages, you're capturing everything. It's colorful, it's bright, and it has all of the facts in a short little piece that if they want to know everything about you, they don't have to peel through a bunch of pieces of paper. They don't actually have to find your hard disk. So this is a great example of going beyond expectations and raising the bar. And again, just in terms of customizing your package, make sure that your logo is on everything, your contact number, your phone number, how they can reach you, your email number. Make sure that it's really easy for them to find you. So in terms of wrapping it up, there's top 10 things I want you to remember about selling to anybody, leave alone this very valuable community. Build a desirable product. I can't emphasize that enough. Build a product that people want to see. Pepsi, for instance, is all about, and what does that product represent? I'm just going to give you an idea on Pepsi. That represents internal youth. That represents freedom. That's what their brand is about. Tell them what your brand is about. Am I stepping away? Sorry. Have a compelling story, a story that's interesting. Use the research. Use us to help you. Use Joan. Use production. Use it to have, I was really impressed with those opening pieces. Use those and walk in so they see the quality of your product. Marshal all your resources and make sure they know all about your resources. Build a sales pipeline, and trust me, that's the hardest part, in the sense that, not the hardest part, building the pipeline's easy, it's making the call. Making the call afterwards and just knowing that it may take 10 calls to get one appointment, but that's all you need. I had one of my best reps, and she's still one of the best reps actually in the city who works for Rogers. She used to pick a day a week where in the morning she would go in, she would shut her office door. I would see her. It was like she would put on this armor of, now it's my call time. One day she came out and she was getting her coffee and she said, oh, I'm so excited. I've had 9 rejects. And I looked at her, I said, you've had 9 rejects? And she said, I know my close rate's 1 in 10. So in the next couple, I'm gonna have an appointment. And then once she got an appointment, she always made it pay. She had everything ready. So she would pull that day, she might go through 50 calls and get 5 calls. But if you get 5 great advertisers, that's great. And even if your program gets full, don't stop there. Keep stuffing don't sit back. You have to keep, because the guy who's in today may be out tomorrow. So just always keep that pipeline open. And listen and learn. I think as salespeople, me being one of them, we love to talk and we don't always like to listen. Listen and learn. Learn about what the client is, and when you solve their problem, when I made the transition from the consumer packaged goods side to sales, it was easy for me to go to that side because I knew that advertising solved a problem, because it solved my problem when I was on the other side. Bring client solutions wherever you can. Try and think ahead and think about the client. Put your best foot forward, and that is by providing your absolutely best in material. Don't go in substandard. You've got great programs. You've got a great market. As I said, $2.3 billion market in Canada. Don't think that more and more of these articles are coming out and that this isn't going to open up more and more. And follow up. They may not return your call the first time. They may not return your call the second time. That doesn't mean they don't want you. That just means they're busy. So be sure and follow up. In terms of, we will also, we'll send out actually, I will get the list from Joan, and we will send you out just a standard PowerPoint that if you're really busy, you can just drop in. So it will have sort of a title page. You can drop in your logos, drop in what you want to see, some basics on harnessing the community, which you've already seen, so I'm essentially not going to go through this before, what Vision Television is. So you'll have that as a standard. Drop in your logos, drop in your clients' logos. Vision TV, the same one that you've seen in the past. Again, a strong South Asian audience. This is another template. You don't have to use all of these. Pick and choose where you want to use them. Graphs always look good, colorful, bright. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Wherever you can, paint a picture. Then also paint a picture about who the consumer is. Wherever possible, be sure and tell them who they are, what they buy. They may not know this. It's not as easy to always come about this research. They don't know where to look. We often get called, not necessarily on this, but say the Zoomer, which is our 45-plus audience. Who is that? We'll give them research to give to their client. So the client wants to know this about the South Asian community. This, again, is a graph. Have a look at this graph when we send it to you and decide which pieces of this you want. We can make these into 4 and 5 graphs by categories. But look at these pieces of community. In this particular graph that I'm leaving with you, everybody indexes at over 100%. That means that you're more likely than the general population to be buying all of these products. And in terms of, teach them a little bit about who the South Asian consumer is. This was sort of fun. I don't think you can kind of see this. And it was, what is the favorite breakfast item of the South Asian community? So, or favorite lunch item of the South Asian community. And there was chicken, salad, eggs, soup. You know, what one is the biggest one? Well, chicken tends to always be the favorite. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the Chicken Association, and I'm going to start to talk to them. But then eggs are a big staple in the diet, the egg board. Or you might want to do, you know, recipes with craft that uses craft and eggs, etc. So just think creatively about a few of these things. And about your show on Vision Television. Who is your target? What are the aims of your show? Who is your host? These are the top lines that should be in everything. What kind of topics will be featured in any kind of social media? You'll have to customize this page. This page I can't customize. This page, what I'm saying is answer all of these questions. Where you can, do it with a picture. Show them it with a picture. And then just a little bit about the power of television. Television immediately impacts. The idea of sight, sound, emotion does have the biggest retention. As much as internet talks and magazine, etc., television is still the biggest reach. If you talk to any of those community papers that you're looking at, they're not going to have the footprint that you have for any of your shows, because I've looked at the numbers of yours, I've looked at the numbers of theirs. So you've got that niche as well. Television reaches through the desire to make you want to buy, because it has that whole emotional piece that any other medium can't give you. Now, the highest on internet is video. That is the #1 retention now, and it's almost the #1 being brought. Banners, etc., are not having the same kind of impact. So if you're using it, use your YouTube, use your internet site for video. And television advertising is affordable and customizable. In terms of affordability, there's no other medium that's as cheap on a cost per 1,000 basis. When you actually look at what yours costs per 1,000 people to reach, even if you're 30, 40, our internet sells for $125 a cost per 1,000. Television is the cheapest medium out there, and it's affordable. And in terms of customizable, I'm sure that the crew here can help you if you need to customize anything. And then again, just as a reminder that we will leave in there is what needs to be in your kit. You need to have a kit of some sort. Ideally, that kit is as fabulous as the brochure. If you can't do that, just leave the paper version of this. But be sure and leave them something they can flip through later. Business cards for sure, DVDs, and samples of your shows. Even if it's the pieces that Joan has done for you, take that piece. They only need a minute. Show them 1 minute. Don't give them the whole show. Don't give them 3 minutes. Don't give them 5 minutes. Give them a minute. And if you can integrate that into your whole piece, do it. If you can actually do that to show them another little piece of your show, that's the best way to do it. Like, you can use the Vision TV clip, just the piece that's South Asian, clip it in with yours, clip it in with your opening piece. Short and sweet, but powerful is the best way to go. And that's it. So thank you for listening, and hopefully it was helpful in some ways. So we're going to, I guess, answer questions where...
So again, if anybody has any questions, please wait until I come. It's happening.
If they don't, we'll be right
It's happening right now.
So, do we have any questions? Actually, before we take the question, I just want to reiterate one thing. The video, just to be really clear, the 2-minute video that we showed at the beginning that shows what Vision TV is all about, and then what the Christian programs are and what the South Asian programs are, there is a blank space at the end of that where we can put a promotion for your specific show. So you can take that DVD to your client meetings, and if you have your computer, just put the DVD in, and that gives them a visual of the environment, which is in Vision TV, and then specifically your show at the end of it. So if you want to use that DVD, just let me know, and we will add your show to it and send it back to you so that you can use it. You can use it on a USB key or a DVD or whatever you like. And the same thing with the sales kit. Just that research information we have a whole department that can create that material. So it's not like you have to go and find it yourself. Whatever you want, we can customize for you and give it to you in a package, just like you've seen that Deborah's demonstrated. So, Jaideep.
Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jaideep, and I do the show Aajkal, the clip you saw in the beginning. I come from the journalistic background, and I shifted from New Delhi. It's pretty good. The presentation was very nice, But you have to understand one thing, that most of the producers sitting here are very small producers. They don't have very deep pockets. And when you don't have the very deep pockets, the big company like Vision TV has to come up with an idea, with a vision. Okay, we are going to support our Mosaic producers. South Asian community today is one of the biggest visible minority community in Canada. We surpassed Chinese in 2006. So today, when the South Asian community is coming up so strongly, most of the big advertisers, whether they are in the automobile industry, in food industry, or any other industry, even the banking industry, they are coming up with their campaigns in Hindi, they are coming up with campaigns in Punjabi, other than the English, because they want to target this particular community. An average producer sitting here does not have that much of a capacity and the time and the resources to run and to go to the advertising agencies, handling the big accounts, because that needs a lot of time, you have to spend. So what they do, what we all do, we end up with the small buyers, $150, $100 per sport, where we just meet the ends and we don't make any profits. Rather, most of the producers are not making any profit. Unfortunately, Vision TV has not represented the Mosaic producers the way they should have presented to the advertising agencies. We don't have the resources to do it. As an individual, I can do it. I know the big advertising agencies, but whenever I approach them, the very first question I'm faced with is, Jaideep, nobody has approached us. Is Vision TV, are they doing a South Asian programming? So that means the information is not there with them. But the information should have gone from Vision TV to them. Okay, on Saturday particular, we do all the South Asian programming. This is this. South Asian viewers are, the audiences are so much, We have not been able to do that, We have not dedicated a person, maybe what we should be doing it now, for the South Asian programming marketing, If you help the producers, definitely the producers will spend more money on the production of their shows. They'll do more research because they have an inflow of the money, which unfortunately they don't have today. That is a way the production level is not going up. Where we were 10 years back, we have rather gone down the drain, And in last 5 years, the television industry has changed so much. ATN is there, ZTV is there. Though they reach very limited houses, ATN reaches only 99,000 houses. I was with the owner of ATN, Sean Chandrasekhar, the other day. He said, Jaideep, we reach 99,000 houses only. But the amount of, the revenue which they are getting, Vision TV is nowhere. I approached Canada Post the other day. The CEO is a close friend of mine. He said, Jaideep, we have never been approached by Vision TV. Zenith Optimedia. Zenith Optimedia is doing all the advertising for them. And when I approached Zenith Optimedia, they were very hesitant, because the proper representation has not been given.
All right, JD, we're giving a half-hour max to everybody.
I know. So this is
last minute.
So that's it. I want Vision TV to do a little more research to help out the producers.
No, I hear Jaideep is speaking on behalf of all of you. I can read your minds. I get it. All right, so lots of questions you just asked, you posed. Let's take them one at a time. I guess your major concern was that advertising-wise, we're doing the Cornerstone advertising and the Mosaic block, if you will. We haven't done our job there. I would agree with that. So I think one of the things we have to take back with us is that if you notice in the newspaper, for example, in the Globe, we'll have a strip that says, watch Murder, She Wrote, or Columbo, whatever it is. There's not a strip that says, watch Jaideep's program, or on Saturday, watch our South Asian block, etc. Good point, we'll take it back. Second point, your small operators, etc., etc. One of the problems that confront you right off the bat is if you're coming to Canadian Tire or any major blue chip company, they're not interested in buying a 30-second spot or a 15-second spot. They want to buy a block. So I think one of the things our model, here's the problem with the model, and you're suggesting maybe we should be doing that for you. We can't sell product because it's your minutes. So if you really wanted to revisit the model, what would have to happen is that each and every one of you on Saturday would give up a minute, and then our geniuses like Deborah over here, they would have to go to an agency and say, we've got a block of 22 30-second spots on a Saturday to the South Asian market, use all these wonderful dynamic tools that we just talked about. We would sell that, but to do that, we would have to sit down with you as a group and say, we're going to take a minute back from you. We're going to sell that minute for, let's call it $200. We're going to give you $150 or whatever the number we all agree with is. We'll take the other $50, and that's how you do it. So there's no way it can be, we can sell for you if you own all those minutes, because we can come back and say, well, I don't want to sell my minutes. I already sold them to a Juba's restaurant or something. So I think that's another dialogue, but I think what we have to do is, as a result of this discussion today, I think we should set something up, whether it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks down the road, where we have a group, we talk about it, and I think you should digest tonight, hey, maybe the problem is that I'm trying to do the selling, but as Jaideep says, I don't have the time, I'm doing other things, I don't have the contacts, et cetera, so maybe we should be doing, maybe that's the model, maybe we should be doing the selling, but rewarding you in terms of you're going to get the same amount of revenue or more that you're getting now. The only difference is some weeks, some of you just don't have your minutes sold. In fact, Jaideep, you probably have 50% of your minutes aren't sold some weeks.
That's right.
Right, so we would say we will take the minutes, we will sell them when they're unsold, we will sell them as a block when we can. It doesn't happen, as Deborah says, you don't make the first phone call and here we go. We will talk to our VP of Marketing, Leanne, say, you know what, let's look at how we advertise, how we promote it, because what we do is we promote your show on Saturday, but those are people already watching. We haven't told the rest of the world, but by the way, have you gone on Saturday to watch us? They have to already be watching you to actually know that you're there. That model doesn't work either. So I think some of the things we've come up with today are that maybe the model needs some tweaking. All of this stuff, wonderful stuff, we should still be doing it. We should still be knocking the doors. If we're going to a Juba's restaurant, you said, Jaideep, that ATN said to you, we have 99,000 subscribers.
Yep.
All right, that's for Canada. So let's assume they have 99,000. And the South Asian population in Canada would be, in your estimation?
Somewhere around 1.5 million.
All right, so 1 out of every 10, 1 out of 11 people has their product.
That's right.
We're in 11 million homes, so I guess every home has our product. So if you do the math, we're in 10 times more homes, but if you went on their show, they probably wouldn't be delivering 10 times more value to you.
But that's all 7 days.
All right, you're killing me now. I know. So you're saying they're on 7 days. So I'm saying maybe the model, or part of our problem perhaps is the model, we have you all lined up on Saturdays. In fact, we have Joy on Saturday, we have Hope on Saturday, we have Vision on Saturday. We have 3 South Asian blocks all on the same day and technically competing against each other. So maybe one of the solutions is, and Jaideep, you and I have talked about this actually as recently as an hour ago, that maybe you take a block, if you take Harpreet Singh, he's got a block every day of the week. In fact, he's got evening and day. Maybe we should be talking about, we take those shows that are on Saturday and you take a block, you go across. Now, if we do that, and Jaideep, we talked about it, if we do that, what we have to do is make sure that we can actually pay for that block. So if we're going to take 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, we have to make sure that we have sponsors for that block because it has to pay for it. So Jaideep took all our time, so I don't have a lot of time, but I will say is, I think
Sorry for that.
I think what we learned was, I'm going to go back and digest it with the team. You make some good points, and I think I think you spoke on behalf of everybody on that one there. So
everybody.
And on behalf of everybody here, we understand. So we're going to come back, tweak our system, and we'll come back with something that we some recommendations. You may or may not agree with them, but at least we're all sort of moving forward on the same concept.
No, I appreciate it.
And one thing I just want to say to that point. Okay. One thing I just want to say at that point. I've been involved with the Cornerstone programming, so we sell the entertainment block, not the Mosaic, but happy to sort of help out on that piece. But I wanted to give you just a comparison, because on the radio side, which we also deal with, 75% of the dollars come from retail dollars, meaning that they're not agency. So I just wanted to kind of give you that as a benchmark, because everything doesn't come through the agency on some of the pieces.
But I'll interrupt you there. Agency will give you a better rate than a corner store right now.
Yes, and I you know what, I deal with agencies, but I deal with them on the Cornerstone programming for sure. And but we have talked to some of the South Asian programming pieces. We have picked up some government money and things like that. Yeah. And no, absolutely hear you. But just so you were absolutely wanted you to understand that it's not all agency. And also, if you actually look at a lot of the print ads that even have national advertisers, a lot of places are franchised, whether it's McDonald's, Tim Hortons, even Shoppers Drug Marts are often franchised out. So don't discount a lot of what you think is national to actually be part of the process, whether it's a dealer or it's a franchise, whether it's a franchise, because so much of the business in Canada is franchise. So I just wanted to kind of to make that point that yes, this is a solution, and I'm really happy to help on this piece, and I have some ideas that we can talk about, you know, and I know Tony wants the best for you guys, but I just wanted you to keep that in mind.
No, idea was
Yeah.
just please go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
my name is Rana Sidhu, and I'm producer of Sardari, and we also do the radio. But my point is, if we charging as a producer, as a tiny producer, $150 per spot, if somebody comes directly to the Vision, they gave him $50. So they prefer Vision TV instead of all these tiny producers.
I mean, are
This
they
is
doing
the
it?
this is the other hassle, and the other thing is, you know, when we figure out the cost, the amount divided by the spots, and the same half-hour show, if I'm paying $1,200, some producers are paying $600. So their cost less. They goes to the same customer. If I am trying to sell them 150, he said, give me 75. Or he goes up. So why I should pay $150 if somebody giving me $75?
Absolutely.
So we have to work on that, unanimously, and we are ripping each other. And you knows, better than everybody because we are all in debt. Everybody's in same situation. So we should work together and to solve this problem.
Yeah, all right, so just, again, a couple of questions. There are multiple questions there, a couple answers to those. Some producers, for example, you said, we had a producer the other day came in and said, Fred's getting a cheaper rate than I do, and he's a half hour before me. And we said, well, Fred's got 3 minutes and you got 6 minutes. If you give us back your 3 minutes, we'll give you the same rate as Fred. He traded his minutes for time. He said, well, I don't want to sell the minutes back. So I said, well, that's why Fred pays less. So apples and apples, they all pay the same. It's just the mix. As far as the question about somebody calling us, a sponsor calling us, we have recently introduced new rules as a result of some of the conversations. So, for example, if a sponsor is coming to us and they want to do some advertising directly with us, and he says, I want to do 2 or 3 or 4 spots, we've instilled a rule that says, if he hasn't been away from you for 6 months, then he's not something we would, so he can't leave you tomorrow and come to us and say,
yeah, that's right.
I want that. In fact, what they would do is serve notice for 60 days saying, no, I'm not with the producer. And so they get around it because technically they weren't with the producer. So now we've installed
60 days or 6 months?
6 months.
6 months, yeah.
So now we've instilled...
Glad to hear that, because, before that, it's the second day they can,
I know that. That's why we put the policy in place. So, in fact, we had some producers that came in recently, and we said, are you with them? They said, no, not with them. And then we called back the producers. We talked to Bob DeSonja 3 days ago, Harleen and I, and we said, not only that, when we get those applications where they say they're not being advertised, it will go to our screening department, and we'll ask them, and we'll send it out to the producers and say, by the way, have these people advertised with you recently? And so that's, now the last point to be made is, we've also raised our rates, so we're not undercutting you, but even there, what we've done to give you a little bit more advantage, we did this yesterday with a couple of producers. You may know that there's some movies going on at the end of the month, this month. And they called us and said, we want to put the ads on, and we understand we get them for $40 or $50 or $60 or $70 or something. And we said, no, you can actually have them for $10. And they said, that's fantastic. And we said, now, they probably won't get on because what we do, we have an automated system, so you tell us what you want to pay. Then we line them up in our traffic office, and if somebody's paying $300, they go on first, and then there's a person who's paying $240 and $200 and $100, and so you probably can get on in the year 2020 or something. We may have an opening. So they say, well, that's not good. How about $60? We said, well, $60, you've probably got now about a 25% chance. So we said, what our producers do for you, if you go to our producer, if you take Jadip's show, for example, and you call him and he says it's $150, he can guarantee you're on. Because your slot, his slot, all your slots, you can guarantee if they buy them from you, they're on. What we're telling them, if you buy them from us, unless you're paying us a lot of money, we don't guarantee. Now, this producer said, but my movie's going to be on in 2 weeks. If you don't get me on for 3 or 4 weeks, that's no good. And we're saying, that's why you should go back to the producers. So we've raised our rates. We've made it very clear to them that we don't guarantee all our spots are preemptible. The only time it's not going to be preemptible if that producer gives us a rate and buys a big buy and says, I'm not with these guys. I haven't been with these guys for 6 months, and I'm prepared to pay you more than these guys. So now I'm not competing with you because you never had them. You're never going to get them. And he's paying us more than you are. You still keep your marketplace. You keep that. So I don't know if I answered your question, but those are sort of...
Yes, we don't have any problem. If we are charging $150, so you are charging $160. So if you want to come to you, we don't have any objection.
Right. See, our other problem is every time I talk to you guys, you say, I'm starving to death. I'm only making $50 a commercial. So I figure I can charge 60. He's only making 50. I'm over... And then you come back and say, well, I was really making 150. I was lying about it. So if you give me the wrong numbers, I'm going to charge the wrong numbers. So...
No, don't give him a figure of $150.
No, the thing is, when we don't
if you give me a high number, I know you're making money. If you give me a low number, then I'm going to go over it. But
sometimes when we don't have anything, some people call, in 28th. So just stop me by tomorrow, and I'm going directly to the Vision. Then I said, bus is going, so why not, take another passenger? So. No.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
That's why we're implementing. So all these things are, by the way, all these things we're talking about today are things that have been implemented in the last 30 days. So based on more, I guess with the weather getting better, you guys are becoming more vocal. So, your mouths have unfrozen. Now we're all talking today. But so these are all 30-day things. In the next couple of weeks, we'll have some more. I have some brilliant ideas. Harleen isn't necessarily agreeing with me on them, but I'll work on her. But we have some, Jadeep and I had talked about some ideas. I would like to call a meeting and actually get an inner group who are more flexible in terms of time, who can meet more regularly and do some of these things. But I think one of the things comes loud and clear is we hear you, and the difference in the marketplace, quite frankly, is because even internally, I have to sell it internally to everybody that, times are tough. And what's tough is 7 years ago, maybe there's 7 South Asian channels. Today, you have ATN with 48 channels just themselves. That doesn't include all the other parties that have South Asian content. So you're going to the same marketplace looking for sponsors, and you're all, you're all...
So these days we are fishing,
I'm sorry?
These days we are fishing.
Yes, I understand that. I understand. So we're going to try to fix
Thank
that. We good?
Thanks.
I still don't like the 6 months, okay? Listen, I have a problem is if they don't want to advertise with us, you shouldn't take them at all. Let them wait. Where are they going to go?
Okay, well,
because what's happening these days is one guy will say, well, 6 months, I'll wait. I'll advertise on the radio, newspaper. What's going to happen is that guy's going to wait 6 months and save thousands of dollars rather than paying us $150 a spot. He's going to save so much money that he's willing to lose for 6 months to save that much money. He's willing to wait.
Well, the logic is not sound, but I get where you're coming from. So here's the problem with that. First of all, you're coming to us saying, we want you to buy these minutes back because we want cheaper rates. So then we buy all these minutes. So I bought 30 minutes, let's say, and it's cost me $200,000. You're saying, now that you bought them, I don't want you to sell them. I just want you to put them on the side burner here. So I say, well, then I got to give them back to you. But if I give them back to you, then your rate goes up, and you say, oh my God, I can't afford it. So that's part of the problem, that I can't take the minutes without doing something with them. That's the first part. The second part is that party that I sold those minutes to, you're never going to sell him. He's come to me and said, I want 20 commercials. And I don't want 1, I don't want 2, I want 20. So if he calls you, none of you have 20 minutes to sell him. So he's saying, I haven't been here for 5 years. Why haven't you advertised for 5 years? Well, because I want a block and I can't get a block. And no one has a block. So you're saying if somebody hasn't come to you in 5 years, if you turn him down to that tone, maybe next year, next month, he's going to come to me. I'm saying, but he hasn't come to you in 5 years. In fact, you've asked him for 5 years. He hasn't come to you. So the solution is not to say we shouldn't sell it. The solution is to say that we should sell it for more than you, because if you think about it logically, he's not the most brilliant guy in the world. If I offer him $200 and you offer him $150, he wants to buy it from me, right? Your wife is going to kill you. So the point is, we're offering more than you are. That's the safest way to protect you. But if somebody wants to pay us more than they're prepared to pay you, I think you have to also acknowledge they weren't coming to me anyway. What they wanted was something more than I had. They wanted 10 commercials or 12 commercials. And we've also said where we have people selling commercials for us, you cannot sell a commercial that belongs to any of our producers. And you can't sell a commercial that somebody was with our producers in the last half year or so. So what we are doing is we're going out and knocking on doors that you're never going to knock on because you just said you can't. but we're knocking on a door you've never been to and probably nowhere to get to. So the commercial we put on is not affecting you. In fact, we've helped your ecosystem because we've taken those commercials away from your competitors and we're starving them at ATN, and you still have the people that you're still doing business with. So we're not here to undercut you or anything of that sort.
But
You're
still,
not sold. I knew there's always
the
one of
price
those
we're
in every
getting offered
crowd.
is very minimum.
I'm sorry?
The price we're getting offered is very minimum.
The price you're getting for?
We're all getting offered is very minimum. I mean, if you're saying you take $50, average cost if you take the producer is about.
We didn't say we take $50.
About $80 a spot. If you look at average cost is,
Right.
we have to sell more than $80 to make money.
No, what I'm saying, you didn't understand what I said. I said that we tell a sponsor, you can have it for $50, you can offer to buy it for us, but you're never going to get it. Okay, so let's get that clear. We're saying, if you come to me and say it's $50, I'm going to say, if I've sold everything I have out there and there's something left, maybe you'll get on. But then I also tell them the story that we have a producer whose own son decided he was going to come on. We gave him a special rate, but he hasn't had a spot on for 2 years. Why? Because he wants it for $50. So then they ask, the next question is, well, what would I get on with it? Well, we said, at $100, we'll take a look at you. Our traffic people will take a look. If you really want to be sure to get on, you got to go past $150. At that point, we still don't guarantee, but we can pretty much assure that, or we'll talk to our traffic people, and you close the door, you come back 30 seconds, you haven't talked to anybody, it's like buying a car, and then you say, guess what, the manager said you're in.
Okay, I'll wait 6 months.
Yeah.
Thanks. Anybody else?
Yeah. Essentially, what we were trying to sort of do was drive home is to kind of look outside your regular neighborhood. You know, look outside because there's a lot bigger world than the corner store out there. Because it sounds like everybody's kind of going after the same advertiser and just about thinking about a bigger scope. And to this problem, I mean, I'm mainly on cornerstone programming, but I have some ideas about how we could work this together, and I understand exactly what he's saying. But the market is getting bigger.
Hi, my name is Stinder Keswan, and I produce Hi Punjabi. I have been producing this show for 4 or 5 months, and as you know, so far I have been doing it at my own without any financial support. When I saw Vision TV 7 years ago, like Punjabi and South Asian programming on it, I was really disappointed. I have no shame in saying that. But now I understand after producing a show that why that's happening. Because most people who produce here, people have good intentions, but it's money, you know, that makes the mirror go. But people are constantly losing money on that, and I have been like a, you know, victim of that. So if I have to continue my show, either I go bankrupt, or either, you know, I start producing something that I can produce only in half an hour. You know, I just stand in front of camera without having any proper studio or anything. And I should go shoot and just have as much commercials at such a cheap rate that I still can survive. And I will finish in just 1 minute, please.
You got a half hour. We gave Jadip a half hour, you got a half hour.
So what happens that not only degrades the, you know, South Asian bloc, people are turning away from your channel at the same time, because the quality of the programs who are suffering this financial loss will go down and down and down, and they will compete with each other and go to the same advertisers, and they will offer more cheaper rates. So they're killing each other, ripping each other off, you know. So, and after some time, you know, we are already touching the low bottom. So I and everybody in the room would agree that if you have to produce a quality show, you have to put your time in that, and time is money. Everybody who's experienced, who is, if you work at some other place, maybe Tim Horton, you will be earning some money, but if you produce a show, it's like, in this situation, it's like, it's a hard market. So what I want from Vision TV is that, you know, you guys should actually, you know, hook us up with some agencies or something, because if we are producing a quality show, we don't have time, we don't have connections, we often get lost. We make a couple of calls. Last week I made a couple of calls to Canadian government for the super visa ads or something. They said that our agency is something Corset or something. And I called them, and then again, I was lost and, call this number, that number, that number. And finally, I wasted 3 hours of my time, didn't make a single penny. And still, I have one show to produce, which I commit to, and which I hope that I will not degrade that show ever. So the situation right now is either I go bankrupt in next 2 months, or either I just level up my show and continue. So eventually what's going to happen is I will shut down my show, which is getting good numbers right now. People are appreciating it because I'm putting my time and effort and my skill into it. Or the channel is going to lose a good show. And that's going to happen to everybody. So only guys you will be left with, people who don't have any intention of making good media, but just to survive and stay there and see their face on the TV.
All right, so the first thing, we're on the same page. You're saying that you have to survive or you go bankrupt, and we're on the same page, because if you don't survive and go bankrupt, I don't have a job. So we're on the same page there. I'm keeping you alive because it keeps me alive, okay? I don't suggest you produce where you just stand in front of the camera. It's not going to get you great eyeballs. But I do agree, and we get back to what I said earlier, that the model needs to be changed. So interesting enough, Vision's eyeballs, its audience, its revenues, et cetera, are going up. In fact, our viewership on the Cornerstone is probably up about 76% over the last couple of years.
At that point, I would like to ask everybody in this room, other revenues are going up at the same time. Because we are your clients, we pay you. So if you are profiting from us and you're getting more eyeballs,
no, we're not profiting from you. That's the problem.
Sure.
We just said Cornerstone. You're Mosaic. I haven't got to you yet. So the problem is the way I keep you alive is I call Tor, my other sales guy, and say, look it, my South Asian dudes are getting killed. I keep dropping their rates. I can't make any money. So raise those guys' rates. And he comes back and says, okay, I've raised the rates for 2 years. But they're getting kind of upset now because they can't keep paying the bill. So now I'm back to, okay, so I can't go back to that tap anymore. So I'm back to you. Can't raise your rates. So we're raising the Christians to pay for you guys. They don't know it, but it's kind of nice. It's, it's building bridges between groups. And so I think, but you hit it right on the head. We need a different sales tack. So in the last few minutes, and you suggested it couldn't be you. So I've suggested that the Harleen and Tony Think Brown ad agency with Synergy, we're going to sort of merge. And I do believe this, I've said it before, I think the solution is that you need our help to help you sell. I still think that you have to change the way you sell. That's why we're doing this. So I don't think you can just sort of throw it up and say, I can't do it, I won't do it. I think you have to, and you have to do it with these tools. But I think what you may need as well is the story that we know better than you is what our numbers are, what our audience is, that we're in 11 million homes. And when when we go to Surrey, BC, for example, in Surrey, they said, well, I just talked to ATN and they told me they're in all these homes. I said, well, in Surrey, BC, they're in 5,000 homes. We're in 500,000 homes in Surrey. So if you're going to talk about eyeballs, the story we have to be telling is that we've got 500,000. So we have 100,000 or 1,000 people for every one they've got. Check the math later. So anyway, that's the point. But we can help you with that story. So I think, again, I can't give you an answer tonight. What I did promise you is that we'll take the information back, we'll take the questions back, we'll digest them. I'm going to do a sort of a State of the Nations report on what's going on with our Mosaic content. And table it internally. I will make some recommendations. I will have some discussions with you before I finish that off, because I've already started some of those conversations. And then we'll revisit, but I hear you and I agree, and I think that if we don't find a solution, it's going to be problematic, yes.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes, my name is Chiranjit Brar from Linecut TV. Beautiful presentation. But the reality is that in Punjabi media, it works in different way. We don't get ads by making just quality program. That's the main problem in Punjabi media. We get ads by our personal relations. Punjabi businessmen, they have no time to view our programs. I have been running my show for the last 5 years, and if I go to a businessman, he's busy, he says, who are you? So that's the main problem.
All right, so I get it. You're wasting your time working. Go out there and make relationships. You got to stop work and start having lunches with people.
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yes.
What we are doing actually.
Okay.
Okay. Now the point comes here. The people who are living here for the last 20 years or 15 years, they have personal relationship with businessmen, because at that time businesses were flourishing. So they have personal relationships. They are making good money. We are not making good money. Second thing, whenever problem comes, we work hard for making our programs. Nobody watches those. I don't know what to say, how to put my words like that. We view their programs, and their programs, there's no consideration about faith content. There's no consideration about what they are showing to the viewers. They are even promoting vulgar songs, vulgarity, misleading advertisements, magics, fortune telling, everywhere, non-scientific ads. And moreover, they are promoting drugs and alcohol, etc. We don't promote, we work on, we talk about social issues. Still, they are getting good ads. I don't know whether they are receiving any messages from you that don't do those programs, but still we are receiving every time. I host my views on Independence Day. I host my views on even on Canadian issues, but every time I have problem, don't say this, don't say this, don't say this. And on the other programs, some of the programs, otherwise many of the programs are good, but on some programs, as I told you, misleading advertisements, promotion of alcohol, etc., and then we get depressed.
No, I hear you. I mean, if we see Honey sing and he's doing something that he shouldn't be singing, rapping about, we get Swami here to do his editing thing. We meet with the Gurdwaras on a regular basis these days and ask them what issues they have. And if the Gurdwaras have problem, people are attacking the Golden Temple, or I guess Honey sings probably the regular theme through everything we talk about. So as you tell us about issues, as the Gurdwaras tell us about issues, we address those. Now, what we are doing lately is we sort of, it's like golfing. If you golf, every once in a while, you're allowed a mulligan, which means you can cheat on that particular hole just once in the 18 hole. So now we're looking at our producers and saying, you know, once in a while you cross the line. So maybe today you cross the line and we give you a mulligan. And maybe next time we have to remember that you did it. We did a producer today and we said, we gave you the mulligan last week. I think Swami just did it about an hour or two. So we told this guy last week he couldn't do this. We gave it to him. Now he went and did it again this week. He used up his mulligan. So our point is, we try to balance it out. So you may see something that say, hey, he got to say this and I couldn't. But maybe you got to say it 3 months ago and he didn't. And so at the end of the year, we try to keep it all balanced. If you're doing a Mila, you can't really go crazy, but maybe we let you talk about the Mila. You know, everybody knows that Bossy every once in a while gets a little bit of freedom there. So we do every day faithfully check all of your stuff and edit it, and we try to make sure that whatever we do is balanced. But with regard to things that might be offensive to women or children, etc., we screen as much as we can, but you can't catch everything every week. Yeah.
The real point that we're trying to make, though, is that we know that you're going to people who you know to advertise in your show. What we're saying to you is that with a little bit more effort, and if you use us, that we can broaden that reach for you so that you're not going to the same people over and over again, and that you're not all going to the same people. So for Sarabjit, for example, if you had called Deborah, instead of spending 3 hours trying to find the person to talk to, she could have told you in a minute. So I'm just saying that's available to you. If you are taking those steps to broaden your reach and to find different advertisers, we will hold your hand and help you to do that. And instead of taking 3 hours, take a minute and give us a call, and we'll help you do that. The other thing that Deborah is saying is that it doesn't take much time to look at the newspapers you buy and the magazines that you subscribe to see who's advertising on those pages. And if you don't know how to find them to make that call, call us and we will help you to find them, to make that call, so that you're not spending a lot of extra time to go after those advertisers. So we know that it's a challenge, but as Tony says, if you're going to keep those minutes, then you're going to have to find the advertisers to buy those minutes. And what we're saying is that we will help you in every way possible to help you to find more of those guys and help you to have the right tools to go and take to them when you have the meeting. We'll help you to find the phone number or the contact person. So we're very happy to be in partnership with you around that.
Actually, I have the mic. I don't want to be snitch, actually. Because we are criticizing those, misleading ads for last 20 years when we are, I'm in media, but sometimes they offer lot more than they're taking from them. So they are charging $300 per spot because the card readers and the storagers, they offered me $500 for one spot, per spot. The astrologers, the fortune tellers. But we don't, because our contract shows that, but we don't want them to promote. They want to come to us. So we don't compromise. Yeah. So we don't compromise. But the other thing is, I was in India and I got a call from Harleen ji, and there was one song produced by Coke Studio. And they said, we don't have the copyright and we shouldn't put that. Okay, so they added that and show goes on. And the next week when I came back from India and I was watching a show, I don't want to name it, I have the recording on my cell. And there was the same song, same logo, everything was same. And I was thinking, why was I stopped and not him? Why was I stopped and someone else is along? Because
I can't use that particular example. I'll tell you what happened 2 weeks ago. We had one that didn't go, and it was the same commercial next one, and we said to both producers, if you can show a letter that says you're allowed to play it, we'll allow it.
Yeah.
And one of them did, one of them didn't. Yeah. You get it, he doesn't.
So, sometime there's actually, we are in a meeting, for last 5 years. So some producers, they are doing same thing. They are doing whatever they want. Nobody, we watch their shows every week and they are doing the same mistake and they are doing their show their way. When once a while, we did the same thing. We got stopped. And we always, to follow the rules. We are always try to follow the, the email. And we try to read each and, every email and we reply back. But those producers, I don't know why they have exceptions. So that's why, we are all wondering. And I think, most of producers are agree with me. And they are doing the same thing, whatever they can. So I don't know why, yeah.
Let me explain you the Coke Studio thing. If that happened, it could only happen because either, we are in time crunch because we may not have get the tape in time, and it might have slipped through the screener.
So then we should drop the tape at the ready end?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. As Tony just mentioned that last week, one producer's program went to air. I don't want to name, even though there was some legal issue, from our side. And another producers, we had to cut it off because, it's the same kind of legal issue regarding, copyrights and all that kind. So once in a while it will happen because we are not watching one, so we are watching 300 to 400 so every week. So if once in a while if we slip, it's not because we are trying to give somebody a preference and somebody not. That's not our intention.
And for your information, because we are the family.
Yeah.
Not even a single producer has the copyright of any content.
We know that.
Of any content we are playing, not even a single producer has the copyright.
No, we don't need a copyright, but we do have producers from time to time that send us. In fact, I've got one coming up right now who's got one on the way from CDC saying, I have permission to use this clip.
Yeah. Yes.
We're going to have to wrap this up now, so that's kind of another topic, because we're getting a little off topic because we're talking about advertising. So we have time for one more question, if it's very quick.
Yeah, my question is, there's one more option for the producer to make some profit from the show, so that they can build quality programs that going to some media agencies, so that they can do our selling on our part. They make their own commission, but probably each show at their own are like very small for a media agency to be interested in. So I think that Vision TV should guide us. They have been really helpful, you guys, at every step. But if you guide us a little bit more, and can hook us up with something that can work at its own, because as we have already seen in the presentation, that it's 2.5 billion market. So collectively, all of our content would be worth more than what we can be individual. So that option should be tried, and I would request you guys to check on that option, because we probably are too small at our own to get into something like that.
And I think that's what Tony's alluding to, is that in the coming weeks that we should get together as a group, so that if collectively you wanted to look at how you could sell a bigger volume across the board in your shows, that we could facilitate that kind of cooperation to help make that happen.
I just want to make one quick point, and to your point, and I know we're wrapping up, I just want to make the quick point because it's really important. Producers call times, say, well, he had this and I didn't have that. So what you don't see sometimes is, let's assume that you've got somebody on your show and they're promoting their own product on the show. What we do is take one of your commercials, cancel that, because you may have had that commercial, and we count that conversation as part of your advertising time. So you didn't get 6 minutes, you got 5 minutes, because that guy promoted a show. So you don't see that. All you saw that he promoted a show, but you didn't count his minutes, say, hey, you lost a minute. So that's what happens.
If somebody is promoting himself, we have got a kind of a show, so we don't mind. Actually, we help each other always. All the time, when Suki has something.
Not talking about promoting himself, talking about you're bringing somebody from another company. Anyway, we're going to wrap up. We're going to do all of this offline, and I know you will have 1,000 questions, and you're not going home. You're going to stay here till I answer every one of them. I know.
I had one call. We told a couple of the agencies, I give a commercial to somebody else, and the guy said, I'm going to pay through you. What happened was, rather than him sticking with me, and I wasn't taking any money out of his pocket, he went to the same good advertiser of mine and said, listen, rather than give me $300, you come through me, I'll charge you $250. He was worried that he's going to drop him later. So I hope we don't screw up the agencies too. That's what I'm going to let you know.
Okay, that's.
So please, whatever you get, take it. Just don't, because that guy, he said, listen, I'll send you the money through you, because whatever you want to do, I got a couple of national advertisers, that's what they do. What happened was, rather than him sticking with me, taking the full pay,